Our next presenter is here to present the LGBTQ plus travel research project results, sponsored by the IGLTA Foundation. He is the Associate Dean of the NYU School of Professional Studies, Jonathan M. Tisch Center for Hospitality, Nicolas Graf.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It still is the morning. I've checked before coming on stage. It really was a pleasure and is a pleasure to partner with IGLTA and IGLTA Foundation. We do have a couple of students here today, some of them that have been invited, some of them that volunteered to help in the organization of this event. So we're very happy of that partnership. We have, and we do recognize the importance of this travel segment, and we've introduced in our curriculums different courses on LGBTQ tourism, and we will certainly be using some of the outcomes of the research I will be presenting to guide our curriculum and guide our courses. If you do have any question during the presentation, just do not hesitate. I've been teaching for over 20 years, and I regularly get a lot of questions. So I'm a non-native speaker. I do speak French normally, so it also is normal if you don't necessarily get all of the things that I say. So do not hesitate and stop me anytime. So the study was performed by some of our students that have graduated since then, so they can't be with us today. Jian Cheng, Kip Orlando Keith, Leo Zhu, Jiawei Xia, and Mei Jai. These are the students who've performed the study, and they were led by one of our faculty members, Dr. Tamer Avchilar, who is in the room, and so some of the questions, he may be the one who will get the answers. So I'm going to take you through the research design, some of the key findings, and then conclusions and some implications. And I will conclude with the limitations of the study, one of them being the relatively small sample size of respondents. So the research design, the purpose of it was to investigate products, services, and travel destinations appealing to the LGBTQ communities, and to identify the current trends in LGBTQ tourism and travel. The sponsor, as I said earlier, is IGLTA Foundation, and the method we've used was to survey many of you. Some of you may have responded, some of you may not, but we have surveyed IGLTA members, and we've asked both quantitative and qualitative questions. Some of the results will represents the quantitative questions, and some will be extracts of the qualitative questions. We received over time, so the results keep changing pretty much every day. We still are receiving, the survey is still open, we still are receiving some responses, and we're updating the results as we go. But to date, we've received 96 complete responses for approximately 120 responses, but with a number of them being incomplete, we could treat really only 96, mostly for the quantitative part. I'm just going to survey the audience here. How many in the room have actually responded to the survey? All right. Okay. Well, we had a slightly higher response rates than I'm getting here. The response rate was about 20%. Full response rate was less than that, so some of you are familiar with the questions here. So the survey, the audience, the respondents were the buyers, so they were not the end users. We asked questions about the end users, but the respondents were essentially you, the buyers, and the members of IGLTA. The sampling methods was everyone and anyone who responded, so it is not statistically built, and thus the responses cannot be generalized to the entire population, but I do think they still have a lot of value. The question types were, there were demographic questions, categorical questions, different types of scales that we've been using to assess importance, and of course some open-ended questions. We used Qualtrics, and we used the IGLTA portal and emails to ensure the distribution of the survey. So I'm going to jump directly into some of the key findings. The respondents. So the respondents, the demographic of the respondents, 47% travel advisors and travel agents, 35% tour operators, and 6% meeting planners and operators, of which the majority of the respondents were from North America, 50%, 12% from South America, 10% from Europe, 8% from Africa, and 8% from Asia and Middle East. Typically, the companies of the respondents, 73 of the 96 were companies with between 1 to 10 employees, and the remaining 18 were companies between 11 and 50 employees. They said that 24% of them reported that LGBTQ sales represented more than 50% of their annual revenue, which is, in my view, is quite significant. Of the customer base of those respondents, so we've asked them to estimate gender distribution, age distribution, and origin of their customer base so that we can connect that with the responses on the following questions. The respondent reported that 73% of their customers were gay or bisexual men, 24% lesbian and bisexual women, and 3% other. In terms of age distribution, they said that 45% of their customers were Generation X, 31% baby boomers, 22% millennials, and 2% other ages. So really a good representation of baby boomers, Generation X, a little bit of millennials. In terms of origin of the customers, the vast majority, 75%, were coming from North America, 14% from Europe, 4% South America, and the remaining 3% Central America and the Caribbean. One of the questions we've asked was, based on sales performance or volume over the past 12 months, what were the top 3 LGBTQ tourism products or services that were sold? And the response is the biggest one, 18% were beach island vacations, followed closely at 15% by guided or group tours, 12% cultural, 12% cruises, 11% city breaks, getaways, 7% pride and other LGBTQ festivals or events, 6% romance, wedding, honeymoons, and things of the sort, and 5% outdoor adventures. In terms of price point, the question was, when considering sales volume to LGBTQ community over the past year, how would you break down those members from price points? So in terms of the price point of the product and services sold to their customers. So 50% was a mid-range type of price point travel, 38% luxury travel, and only 12% for budget travel. In terms of the favorite destinations, so that map here represents the responses to the question of listing the top 5 destinations for LGBTQ clients over the past 12 months, either for leisure or business travel. And we allowed for respondents to cite cities or destinations or areas. And so most of that was, in terms of top destination, the United States at 75%, 14% Europe, 4% South America, 3% Central America and the Caribbean, and 4% others. So a very big proportion going towards the United States. Next question was on the top 3 attributes or experiences that their clients look for when purchasing a tourism product or service. And respondents had to pick top 3. And so 26% mentioned taking a break and relaxing as a number 1 dimension that was driving their customers to make a purchase. Get immersed in the local culture for 24%. Visiting LGBTQ spaces, 17%. So these were the top 3 from the respondents. Socializing was number 4 at 13%, 12% spending time with families and friends, and 5% attending LGBTQ events and activities. Now, some of these responses may sound like, yeah, I was expecting that. Well, I guess that's a good sign if you were expecting some of these answers. One of the next question was about the importance of different attributes for their LGBTQ customers when choosing a destination to travel. So really kind of looking into the reasons for choosing a specific destination. And we've asked questions on, the relative importance of different attributes. The most important attributes seem to be high level of perceived openness, acceptance, friendliness for LGBTQ residents and visitors, including law and policies of the destination. That was deemed as very important for 75%, 23% moderately important, so close to 100% of moderately to very important. The second one ranked in terms of importance was scenic and natural beauties, 60% as being very important, 32% as moderately important. And then the next one, the diversity of art and culture, 49% very important, 36% moderately important. And then comes 2 other reasons which were still important, but to a lesser degree, the LGBTQ marketing campaigns and activities through various channels, still important. The majority, over 64%, above slightly important. And then the second one, iconic LGBTQ districts, neighborhoods, or events, which was still at above 60% above slightly important, but less than the first 3. In terms of family travel, so we asked the question as the following question: as the demand for LGBTQ family travel increases, does your company have plans to capture this market? If yes, please explain. 87.5% of the respondents said yes. This is we do have plans to capture that segment, so we are doing things about it. And some of the answers were, family market is increasing, family-friendly products, routes we're developing, we're cooperating with gay family organizations, Gay with Kids, and all of these kinds of things. Working with suppliers to develop attractive products for this market. So some of these were answers to the open-ended question. Now we looked into some of the common complaints that the respondents' organizations were receiving from their customers in regards to their travel experiences. The number one was, most common complaint was lack of destination friendliness, and I think that goes back to one of the most important driver for making decision to travel to a destination: feeling safe, feeling friendliness, lack of staff friendliness and respect, high prices, poor service standards and credibility. And then the last one, which was the way some of the respondents suggested that, kind of a complaint from their customers was that sometimes it was kind of making it a little too gay and sometimes not sufficiently. That's kind of a puzzling response, and I'm not sure what to make of it, but happy to discuss if needed. Now we ask questions on marketing strategies of the respondents' companies. What marketing strategy have they implemented in order to drive sales volume of the LGBTQ tourism product and services? Social media campaigns came first. TripAdvisor was a close second. Google Ads, email blasts, website posts, word of mouth was also within the top 10. Joined LGBTQ organizations who work with LGBTQ clients was another one. And one of the last one, dating apps. And of course, that kind of goes back to the presentation before the coffee break on how do you use digital and social media to target this market. But these were the top 10 marketing strategies shared by the respondent. So some conclusions from, there were a few other questions that were closely related to some that I showed, and given time constraints, we limited the presentation to these ones. So, but the conclusions based on that, Conclusions about destinations, not surprising to many of you probably. Mature countries, United States and Europe comes as top of the mind, top of the preference list. On the emerging country side, South Africa was viewed as a very attractive destination. Japan, Spain, and Chile were amongst the top emerging destinations. And some of the reasons we found about was that the level of perceived openness of the destination was really one of the main, if not the key driver. The level of friendliness and acceptance for LGBTQ residents and visitors both was viewed as a key. And so the scenic and natural beauties of others and the diversity of art and culture. So that was coming from, that conclusion comes from that question. The other, so we've asked another question. So the next piece about product and services was a question about, an open-ended question about the trends that the respondents were feeling in the marketplace. What are the trends in terms of new attractive product and services to serve this community? And the top ones came as guided and group tours, cruises, cultural dominated the market really and were the main trends. The other ones were about romantic trips, family travel, wellness were amongst the most frequently cited emerging trends in that market. And we also realized that many companies in the field of tourism and hospitality have created specific services aligned towards this potential market. Other sets of conclusions. The concept of LGBTQ travel becomes more inclusive. Tourism products with mid-range prices are leading the market, and there was a demand. And if you recall one of the questions, some of the respondents felt that their clients felt that it was too pricey, often that we're trying to get too much out of them. So hence the mid-range price as being leading the market. Demand for luxury segments, though, is also increasing. So these were two elements in the market. In terms of motivations, visits to specific sites and monuments, it's high on the client's wish lists, although not necessarily one of the most important dimension. Remember, the most important dimension was really that friendliness, openness here. Next one was diversification. LGBTQ clients seek to expand their destination choices. And again, that is connected to the need for more open and respectful places and friendly places. Internet power, digital, driving process of greater LGBTQ visibility and acceptance, and thinking about the presentation before the coffee break on YouTube and all of that. That clearly is something that also came out of the survey. Social media platforms enhancing sales volume, performance, and LGBTQ travel. So that these were mentioned also, and we realize that it is increasingly important for travel agents, tour operators, and others to invest in these channels. Some other managerial implications: product development, improving and leading tourism product and services. There was a real need to improve the quality of service and the friendliness of the staff delivering it. Developing new product and services that accommodate emerging travel demand in new destinations, but also for new demand. Pricing strategies, communicating the value of tourism product and services. That came out as well in saying that some of the clients felt that they felt that it was too expensive, hence suggesting that the value of the product and services was not totally understood. Ensuring consistency between the marketing promise and traveler's experience. Again, we've seen some very nice destinations videos, and so, how do you ensure that you do not create expectations that can't be met on the ground? Finally, sales plan, increasing the visibility of tourism products through social media, mobile app, and LGBTQ tourism organizations, and promoting LGBTQ inclusion and diversity on consumer brochures and web banners, making it obvious for the customers. I'm going to jump into some of the limitations and opportunities to continue with this research project. So the limitations, it's an online survey that we've conducted. Not too many of you responded entirely to the questions. Relatively small and uneven sample size, and thus a lack of generalizability. Opportunities, furthering the research on individuals, recognizing also that there's very complex identities in the community and thus very diverse needs, and thus creating a survey that may be more specific to dig into some of these specificities, and looking at target specific markets. So I think I'm on time, pretty much. So I want to thank you. The students really enjoyed learning about the market, really enjoyed going through this exercise. I think the faculty member, we can congratulate him. Tamer, please. There we go. And I would be very happy to redirect any questions to him. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. Yes?
How did you define mid-range and luxury? Did you have prices in the survey?
No, there were no prices.
Yeah, I'm running heels up.
Okay, let me repeat the answer. Because the survey questions are answered by many members from many different countries, if we put specific price ranges, it really wouldn't match and match for each country's definition of mid-range or luxury. So we went with the more abstract definition of mid-range, luxury, or low budget.
Any other question? Yes.
Thank you. As there are a lot of us from Canada in the room, we didn't see Canada mentioned anywhere on this, and we know that Canada is the #1 international destination for American travelers. So I'm just wondering how that fits into this conversation.
I think it was included in North America. So
Oh, so where you said U.S., it actually meant U.S. and Canada?
I don't think when I said U.S., it was U.S.
Okay.
But I said on a couple of slides North America as well.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Now, we could certainly, if you want a more detailed breakdown of the answers, we can certainly circulate a more detailed breakdown. That would include Canada specifically.
That would be fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other question? Yes?
Just a quick question. You are sharing this report with those of us at IGLTA, or how do we get access to it?
On Monday, it will be on our website for you to download.
Thank you.
Monday, our website. I don't know if you heard John.
Thank you very much. Yes? Yes?
Can't hear you.
The next
Didn't know
one
this
will
was part
be
of the
there.
job, but it's fine. Gotta get my steps in somehow.
Thank you. My name is Mateo. I'm representing the Tourism Board of Barcelona. I was a little bit surprised, even with my colleagues as well, when I saw the panel about the slide about the markets. You were talking about the emerging, mature markets, that it was US and Europe. And then you make emerging markets, Spain. So Spain is in Europe, so I'm a little bit confused about that, because for us and my colleagues as well from Spain here, we are a little bit shocked about that. Maybe it's not really a mature market already.
I didn't have Spain. I had South Africa, Japan. Oh, yeah, I had Spain. That's a good question. I think it's emerging in terms of, my understanding, and Tamer, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it's from the respondent is not an emerging market from tourism standpoint, but for specifically their customer base in the LGBTQ travel market. So as becoming something that is increasingly in demand, as opposed to something that has been in demand for quite some time and remains in demand.
Okay, super. Thank you.
And we have a campus in Madrid, so we love Spain.
You answer me. Thank you.
I do, actually. Any other question? Maybe on the other side of the room. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.